What do you know about the multiverse?
It's the most fantastic new phase of Marvel. The chaos behind the scenes of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was almost as intense as the MCU fracturing into millions of different universes. Do you dare to know more?
I can't wait to see how the audiences respond to what we've done.
Number 1. One thing that was new for Doctor Strange was the way the team handled spellcasting. The actors were given lights on their hands because it created the proper lighting on their faces and costumes, which would make the lives of those working on the scenes in post just a little bit easier. Elizabeth was not a huge fan.
But that's so silly.
As she put it, they've been able to figure it out without that. It sounds like she did not exactly enjoy working with the hand lights. We imagine they would be quite blinding and cause squinting, but that's just our guess. Well, it appears Elizabeth must have forgotten about the lights, because she can be seen wearing them in Endgame. Perhaps they just got a lot more use in Doctor Strange than they did in WandaVision. Number 2. Stunts are like pizza crust. They're the best part.
Actually, yeah, now that you're saying that, something did go wrong.
While Olsen was wired up, she leapt onto a pillar, but there was some rigging that went wrong and the platform wasn't properly secured.
And I fell straight through it.
Surprisingly, she came out of it without a scratch.
No cuts and bruises, but it scared me.
But Elizabeth loves her stunts. Elizabeth's not a fan of adrenaline rushes, like roller coasters, but she does like stunt work.
You feel very youthful when you're being just pulled around on a string.
She was excited to try out one that was a bit different from anything else she'd ever done before. She was hooked up on a rig, and a man jumped off a ladder.
And him jumping off the ladder made me go in the sky.
Number 3. Why does a sorcerer need to be jacked? For Benedict Cumberbatch, fight scenes were a challenge since he's getting older.
Which I love, but you really feel it the next day.
Cumberbatch got totally ripped for the movie. But why? It may just be that we see a version of Doctor Strange that doesn't like wearing shirts. Or perhaps Cumberbatch got shredded just so he would have the endurance to do the intense stunts day in and day out. Number 4. Cue the dramatic music. Somebody on set was out to get Elizabeth Olsen. Just kidding. In the scene with the apple blossoms, the white stuff floating around in the air was actually burnt wax. She wound up really sick from it, and unfortunately then went on to do one of the biggest scenes in the film while feeling ill.
There's a lot of weird things I think that we inhale on sets that aren't very good for you.
Number 5. Everybody gets an upgrade, or 2, or 3 in the multiverse. The costumes in the movie were on full display at the premiere of the Multiverse of Madness. Doctor Strange's classic outfit has been updated since Spider-Man No Way Home. And overall, this new one feels more cohesive, with the reds in the shirt matching the reds in the cloak. He was previously in a Disciple costume, and that isn't the case anymore. They've also abandoned the checker pattern in the undershirt and updated his belt and cuffs to match. It's pretty awesome to see how the costume designers borrowed from the comics to create the new Doctor Strange costumes, but also how they take inspiration from the Earth 199,999 version, aka the MCU Doctor we know and love. Mordo swapped out bright greens for muted greens and golds. America Chavez's jacket was done with intricate hand-painted graffiti. The Scarlet Witch costume now has sleeves and a more ancient feel to it, and Wong is really embracing that Sorcerer Supreme life with his updated outfit. Number 6. Ironically, getting the movie filmed was pure madness for the creative team. Between the original director, Scott Derrickson, quitting the sequel over creative differences, and COVID bringing everything to a halt, it's amazing we ever got this movie at all. Part of that is thanks to the duo that was Sam Raimi and Michael Waldron. Both Waldron and Raimi spent months salvaging and reshooting Multiverse of Madness. COVID delaying the project gave Sam and Michael the chance to ask, if we wanted to start over from scratch, what would our version of the movie be? So they started over. The pandemic was a blessing, as they had more time to bring their vision to life and do it justice. The team was still doing extensive reshoots in early 2022 that were needed to clarify the story, and the original release date was pushed back from May 25th to May 6th. Number 7. No Way Home gave us our favorite Spideys, and Doctor Strange gave us our favorite director. Elizabeth Olsen has loved working with Raimi, saying he's a great energy and a very specific filmmaker, and loves playing with his camera. It's been fun. Technology has come a long way since the 2001 Spider-Man.
We no longer, like in the first Spider-Man movie, had to make the tools to make the tools.
Which would save a ton of time and innovation. Zoom was the big game changer for him, though. The fact that he could contact 50 teammates, explain a concept, and have the whole team share all of their work conveniently despite the different mediums was phenomenal. Number 8. Set in New York. Filmed almost exclusively in England. Almost the entire movie was filmed in studio on the lot in London, England, at Longcross Studios. The scene with the big one-eyed squid monster, Gargantos, was built on a backlot. In total, they built 4 city blocks for the scene, because they needed a huge palette to make that sequence work. Other locations included Burrow Hill, Cider Farm, Freemasons Hall, Los Angeles, Richmond Park, and Vancouver. Number 9. Imagine Doctor Strange if it had the tone of a Pixar movie. Kevin Feige brought Sam Raimi on board because everybody knows he specializes in horror films, and that was the tone Feige wanted the sequel to have. The reason this was the right time to introduce this tone was because the multiverse makes you realize if there's something cool out there,
there's also something dangerous, there's also something scary, there's also something hiding under your bed.
Number 10. It'll be hard to stay composed with music like this. Composer Danny Elfman believes the key to interweaving the suspense for him was
any movie like this is a giant puzzle.
What made Doctor Strange stand out was that
just in this particular puzzle there was some horror.
For some of the horror music, he used a special extra low brass sound that's reminiscent of old-fashioned horror sound he really likes. Number 11. She's got the star power. Xochitl Gomez is playing a 14-year-old version of America Chavez,
which is younger than any of the versions in the comics.
Elizabeth gave Xochitl great advice when she first started out, and that was never be shy about giving any notes, tips, or opinions on things. Chavez is an openly queer hero, and the actor and movie are the subjects of controversy over not her sexuality, but 12 seconds of her talking about her 2 moms. Disney refuses to cut the scene for releases in other countries. Xochitl said, "It's a big deal that America is in this movie. It's just huge, and I'm just so happy that Marvel has stuck to it and kept the scene in there. And it's just pretty crazy that I get to be the one who plays America." Number 12. The multiverse is an actor's playground. Elizabeth Olsen flew to London just 2 days after wrapping WandaVision to film Multiverse of Madness.
I just keep coming back, and I'm always surprised every time.
Wanda has a newfound confidence. Olsen is always referring back to other films, but keeps adding new elements she thinks audiences will enjoy.
But we basically all just look like fools while we're filming.
Benedict Cumberbatch loves playing different versions of Doctor Strange, saying,
So to play different versions of him really tick that box.
Rachel McAdams hasn't been around for the many, many movies the others have.
I had to go back to my notes.
But she also played different versions of herself, and so got to start fresh. Didn't we tell you it was going to be complete and utter chaos? Why didn't you believe us? What do you think Doctor Strange 2 would be like if it didn't run into all of these barriers? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for hanging out with us here at The Things.